We are live on the United Wrestling Podcast. My name is Nick Bonanno. I am the senior official for the United Wrestling Network and the producer of Wrestling Operations, welcoming us today. My co-host for the evening is the president of the United Wrestling Network, David Marquez. Hey, David.
Hello.
Hi. And our main guest this evening, he was a commentator, he was a manager, film director, documentarian, voice actor, and I think it would be safe to say he is a jack of all trades. The man I'm talking about is Stu Stone. Welcome, Stu.
Did you write that for him?
I didn't. I've always been a big Nick Bonanno fan, and obviously that was quite the introduction. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Stu. Yeah.
It's very great to be here with you guys and with Dave, especially my longtime friend Dave Marquez. He is the leader of the pack. You know what I mean? So it's really nice to be able to. I haven't actually got to see Dave in a long time. You look good, Dave.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you. You do.
I've noticed. We can do that. We can do that.
As I was gonna say, as like the last few years have progressed, I noticed like more buttons keep getting unbuttoned as each year goes by. Because you're looking good, man.
It's like a tree. I'm actually really fat right now, but thank you.
You might be wondering. I'm smiling under here, but I am what am I, Dave? I am an advocate for masks, obviously. And since I don't know, I follow Dave, so I know where he's been. I don't know where Nick's been, so
with the United States government.
Yeah.
Nick, you been safe?
Is it safe?
Are we socially distanced?
I don't know. How far is it from Los Angeles to Toronto? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I can't get on a plane to go there. There's that. So I think that's distant enough. There he is. Say,
we could do that electric company stuff. If you turn your head and I do my head and you go, cat.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. Just tell me a secret, Dave.
Hey, Moose.
Okay. Broken telephone. Oh, I gotta tell it to Nick. See, this is all new use for the United Wrestling Podcast. It's very good to be here. As somebody who has been a podcaster and a live streamer of sorts of in my past, I would have to say that it's really nice to see the United Wrestling Network and Nick and Dave. You guys are doing a lot during the pandemic. I have noticed that you guys have really put the pedal to the metal. Obviously, with live events and TV tapings being hard to come by these days, you guys kept it going by doing stuff like this, and I've been watching, and it's been really interesting and fun to see some of my old cohorts throughout your episodes, as well as some new faces that I wasn't familiar with. So it's been really cool, and congrats to you guys for taking the initiative to do this. And I wish that it's more people see what's going on here, because the access that you guys provide sort of behind the curtain is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So congrats, guys. I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you. It's not, and I can't take credit for this. This was everybody else. And speaking of being a pioneer in podcasting and whatnot, his Stone movement and whatnot, but there would be no Colt Cabana podcast.
Wow, that's not
Stu Stone.
That's not necessarily true, because Colt is
very true.
Well, Colt is a guy that
Mr.
would
Colt.
Well, he would figure it out how to do it. But I will say that, like, when I met, he's the type of person that would have figured it out either way, I'm sure. But either way, Colt and I, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I wouldn't be part of United Wrestling if it wasn't for Colt Cabana and I making sort of a deal with each other. I had met him. I was working on a film, the documentary on the Iron Sheik, the Sheik. And we were interviewing people at the WrestleCon. I believe it was in at the Hyatt by the Hilton by the airport. You had to have been there, Dave. I was running around.
That's when we lit Cabana on fire.
Yes. That is yes. No. That's not that one. This is before that. This is I was with the Sheik and Bret Hart was there, and we were running around interviewing everybody. You were for sure there. Yeah, you were for sure there, but I didn't know you yet. Anyway, I was interviewing Colt for the Sheik documentary, and we hit it off. And he, mentioned to me that he was really interested.
He didn't interview me for the Sheik documentary.
No, which I should have. The guy who inducted him and inducted him into the NWA Hall of Fame, the medal that he wears on Howard Stern. Dave gave him that. Yes, that is an oversight, and I would have loved to have. Listen, let's talk about your Sheik stories if you want to go there. I just give me 1 second here.
I forgot, just like he has.
Either way, I met Colt and I was like, we hit it off immediately, and he was mentioning he wants to start a podcast, and I mentioned to him that I want to get into professional wrestling, and he said, okay, well, if you help me with the podcast, I'll help you get into wrestling. And I'm like, sure. And so he came on to I was doing a show. I still do the show, but it was called TSM Radio, and it was a much bigger thing at that time. And Colt was on there on Sunday Night Stu. We were going live on the internet, and he would come on all the time. Dave, a year later, Dave was on all the time. But anyway, he ends up launching his show, The Art of Wrestling, and true to his word, I had a couple of false starts with my buddy Kevin Kleinrock, but eventually, Colt got hired to come down by Dave to come and work, I guess, top of the card type stuff for his NWA Hollywood show. I think he even wrestled the first match in the show's history. It was him and Peter Avalon. So Colt went down there and he basically hooked it up. He's like told Dave about me. Dave met me at a Starbucks on the Valley, like right across the street from where, like, have you seen the movie Heat? It's like down the block from like where they like robbed that Bank of America in the movie Heat. That's the truth. That's a shoot. But anyway,
Laurel Canyon and Magnolia.
Yeah. So I get there and like I see LaQuasto is getting up. So Dave obviously double booked, right? So he had like LaQuasto, his LaQuasto meeting was like from like 12 to 12:15, and like I was like 12:15 to 12:30, and like Flex is third or whoever, not Flex, but you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know who he's meeting with after us, but he's like he's using that fucking Starbucks. Pardon my French. He's using that.
I never brought a computer. I never brought laptops. I never brought any of that stuff.
True.
Hey Pete, come here real quick. Come here. Hey, you're live with Stu Stone.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, there he is. He can't hear me, but tell him
he can't hear you. But
tell him I love him. Pete wrestled live on Sunday Night Stu. He was the
only
only
Sunday Night Stu.
Yeah. Only wrestling match.
He was great.
I won that match.
Yes,
you were great. He says he won that match.
He did. That's the same night that I boxed my mother live on live. Dave produced the whole thing with Cable Guy Jeff.
I remember.
Anyway, so I go to meet Dave and I see LaQuasto, and right away I'm thinking like, oh shit, I'm not going to get his job. Look at this guy. And it's like, LaQuasto's all like put together. And, I sit with Dave and, to his credit, Dave gave both of us a shot that day. He saw
I tore that $10 bill right in half and went, there you go.
Yeah. And he knows that we would have paid him to be on the show, by the way. I probably did pay Dave to be on the show now that I'm thinking of it. But anyway. Yeah, probably. But anyway, so Johnny and I end up working on it was the second taping ever. And LaQuasto was doing backstage, and Dave, his idea was to put me on commentary. And, I was with James Morgan. Happy birthday today, James Morgan, who, our fate would change that day forever because James and I would forever be paired in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. But James and I were on commentary with Todd Keneley, and James was very new to it. And to say that I was new, that was my first time doing it. Between the two of us, we were 2 shades of green. It's like, Todd was like carrying the load, and, James is really funny. And, I was kind of told by Dave to sort of just be like in the middle. Like he wanted like almost like a Bruno Sammartino type of like, just an analyst of some kind. Like, Adam Colt is really good at that role. But
who? Jeff Resnick.
Yeah, Jeff Resnick. My bad. Jeff Resnick is very good in that role. Johnny LaQuasto knows he's very good in that role. But anyway, I sucked. They put me on like the women's matches first, and then they let me do a couple tags, and I was like so bad, and it was just so bad. And what happened? Is that I think Excalibur ended up coming to do. I think Joey or somebody started booking, and Excalibur came in to be a commentator, and James and I got booted off commentary. So there was like nothing for us to do. So James was wrestling at John Ian's school, or his promotion, Mach 1. I think James was even the champion there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going to give James a shot to do something. And so I basically got told, you're going to be like a heel and you're going to be a manager and just go out there and like just turn heel. And I'm like, what do I do? And Joe Schmo, who Dave can tell you who Joe Schmo is. I'm sure you've heard all about him. Joe Schmo used to work for WWE at one point. Definitely was like a creative hurricane behind the scenes at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Legendary feuds behind the scenes with Adam Pearce, Percy Pringle, Dave Marquez. Legendary backstage feuds. But boy, one thing that I'll miss about Schmo is that he just like inspired us to like go out there and just try stuff, right? So I go out there, and my first time going out there, no one knew who the hell I was. I was like on commentary, just stinking out the joint. And so Angelo Trinidad tells me to slap him. So I wasn't a trained slapper, so I literally like slapped the hell out of Angelo, and that started the whole thing. I got carried out of the building, and Dave started a whole thing where I wasn't allowed in the building. And then I came back with James Morgan, and we started the Family Stone. And I would say that the Family Stone was the most fun I had in life. I mean, I'm talking about like I've done a lot of stuff. I've had an interesting kind of career in the entertainment industry, but the Family Stone stuff is still my favorite, and I miss it more than anything. But I was thrown into the fire like something was cooking, and was paired up with James Morgan, eventually Adam Pearce. I was paired with Adam Pearce and Eric Watts and Cedric, the sports entertainer, and the big man Othello. Can't forget about Othello. Anyway, the stuff with Adam Pearce ended up bringing me right in with Colt, because Adam was feuding with Colt. So I kind of had I was learning on the fly. I obviously had like a background in acting and performing and stuff, but I'd never, I'm a lifelong wrestling fan, but I'm getting to do it. And it's like, I'm loving every second of it. And, Adam and Colt pretty much taught me as we went along. It's like I learned on the fly from working with those guys. And Adam really Adam Pearce is he's a good teacher, man. Listen, as much as I had my ups and downs with him, like he scared the hell out of me more often than not. But he taught me how to do a lot of stuff. Like he taught me how to do a lot of stuff. And Dave also, like Dave has this like kind of tough love. I'm sure you know all about it, Nick. But like it's very rare to get a compliment from Dave for anything. And so for the first maybe 3 years of doing Family Stone, like I don't think he ever like once sold for me ever. And so once I got put back on commentary, it was a whole different ball game. Like now I was comfortable. Now I found myself. Now I knew the Stu Stone character or whatever you want to call it. And any chance I got to like bury Dave on commentary, like I would just do anything I could just to try to pop him. And eventually I got him. You know what I mean? Eventually I got him. And we have a very interesting working relationship. I think I've only been fired from the show once, and it lasted for like maybe 5 minutes. I showed up for a taping, and he got so mad at me and like told me go home. And then like 10 minutes later, we like made up. But that's pretty much the only time that I had trouble. I ended up getting an opportunity to start producing. I think once Ryan Katz and Lagana and these other guys started going to other directions, and Adam went other directions, I got an opportunity to actually be a part of the behind the scenes, the booking team and the production team on the show. And I got to start producing the promos backstage, which is like my favorite thing ever. I got to like work with some of these, to see these guys and gals shining the way that they are today, not just on your program, but on all programs across all the pro wrestling platforms. Just knowing that I had some sort of hand in helping them find their voices early on in their voyage. It's just been awesome, man. I'm doing too much talking here, but I get so excited to talk about wrestling. And, I think that this opened up so many doors. I got to go work all up and down the West Coast in Las Vegas with my buddy Joe DeFalco at Future Stars of Wrestling. I got to go up.
He and I just had lunch, by the way.
Wow. Well, there you go. It's about time. But I got to have a lot of fun there. And Joe obviously had been watching Dave's show because he recognized, a lot of the talent that he used on those early FSW shows is because he saw them on Hollywood. And, that was a credit to Hollywood and Dave and everybody. But I have such a good time working over there in Vegas, obviously. But we're here to talk about the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, specifically days. And I got to wrestle several matches. I'm undefeated as a professional wrestler in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I beat Rudy, that son of a bitch, Rudy. I beat me and Othello. We ran through tag teams undefeated. Dave hated all of that.
I didn't know about the Rudy thing at first either. So this is the Schmo stuff. So
yes.
Schmo would keep things off of the sheet, and we would always. I figured this out later, and we would always shoot like a good dark match, and and I never knew why. I was like, why isn't that on the show? It was for stuff like this. So he had Stu and Rudy, and so if that match totally shit, we would put the dark match in and take that out.
Yeah, but we were on. I don't care what he says.
No.
I put a figure 4 on Rudy.
So Stu and I. So he said we have a rapport. We do. So we hosted the show together for a while and commentated together a very little bit. But we became kind of the Bob Eubanks and Lee Merriweather of wrestling for holidays. For probably, I want to say 3 or 4 years, Stu and I hosted either a Christmas special or a New Year's special on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was like a wrap-up show. Yeah, how about that? We did another New Year's show that you guys might know about that had no wrestling in it until the very end.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
And
like
Pepsi,
energies.
And
energy.
And the Green Initiative.
Green Initiative.
And...
Anyway, moving on.
There's a lot of people who sponsored.
No, we were on Hollywood Boulevard. It was awesome. We had such good times, man. We were out there.
People and some people even recognized this. I remember once we did something with Ricker where this woman slapped him.
Yeah, true.
Like right there on TV, he slapped him.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's like, Stu talked about a lot of his favorite moments, and I know there's more. And my moments with Stu, there's tons of them, but there's like 2 that really stick out. One is like him coming back into the company. Like you said, he left, came back with a lawyer, whatever. We did an arm wrestling match.
Oh yeah, with Chris Massey.
With the referee, Chris Massey, who I just spoke to he and his wife about 30 minutes ago.
That was the best.
And we did that. It was the whole over the top thing and the referee, and that was fun. But as he said, Adam Pearce scared him. I'll never forget at the Ocean View Pavilion. Adam could get a little hot-headed, and Adam we lost the actual ring bell hammer, which is like
my god,
which is a little wooden hammer. And Adam, so in the meantime, in the interim, we had a real industrial hammer, like a real with the big forks on the back. It was really big, and so. They're chasing, they're doing their stuff, this and that. Adam gets upset and launches this hammer at Stu. Stu ducks. Next time we're at the theater, Nick, remind me to show you. There's a grade on an air conditioning duct. It's now painted black.
It broke right through.
It went right through the thing, and the thing is still bent.
Yeah.
That was meant to go to Stu. And then Stu's face on camera was so real because it was real. I loved it, and I'm in the back. I'm like, get closer.
I'm telling you, I got like basically my whole anything that Adam did in Hollywood on that specific show. I know obviously he had a huge career before that, but on the Hollywood show specifically, I was always tied with Adam in some way. Either I was managing him or he was trying to kick my ass. When that camera, it's like he has that it. Obviously he's the world champion of the company for a reason, but it's like this guy took it into another gear. Yes, the Adam in the back is like still Adam. Adam in the back is Adam 10, and Adam in the ring is Adam 12, or Adam 13, 14, or 15. But that's why he's so great. You know what I mean? Because he makes you believe because it's real. You know what I mean? He really threw a hammer at me. If I didn't duck, I'd be hit with a hammer. I didn't know
That's
he was going to throw a hammer at me.
A real heavy hammer.
But I would say that the matches with Colt Cabana and Adam Pearce and like the early days of the Family Stone with like Watts and Seti, those were great. And Heather, obviously, she was there. But it was such a great time. The feud with Adam and Colt was so good because like I literally was cutting promos, just burying Colt as like, I could say whatever I want. You know what I mean? And it was just so fun. And I miss it so much. Obviously my time, we could obviously talk about memories a lot. But I do want to say that, I'm not done in wrestling, even though Dave says I'm not in wrestling. I am not done in wrestling. Like I will be back.
And you're not in wrestling.
I will be back in wrestling because I love it too much. And in the audience, listen, I have a connection with the audience that you can say it's cheesy. You can roll your eyes at it, but like I feel love when I go there, even when they're booing the shit out of me. I know they love it. It's like I'm having a great time. Stu SA, there you go, Stu SA. That's what that's a legit chant at the Ocean View Pavilion. Am I wrong?
No, that's right.
So, shout out to the fans that come out to the tapings because those people really when they show up, they it's a really special time. There's been some places some of the best shows we ever did were when there's Levi, me and him when him and his partner Buddy. They're not partners anymore, but when him and his partner Buddy came down, I should say, from San Francisco to come work with us, right away, I love those guys. Buddy cuts a great promo, and I love their old school vibe. And Levi's, had this like Jewish thing going, and we connected really well. And I really loved their tag work, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen for Levi because he's getting a lot bigger kind of role now, huh? Yeah. Top of the card, Levi. So that's really great. And I know he's worked really hard on his look, and he's ready to rock. So shout out to him. Stu Stone getting killed by Terex. Yeah. I can't see the live comments, by the way. I can only see what Nick puts up on the screen here. But the Terex is the man. Listen, he is an attraction. Some people don't get along with him. Some people do get along with him. I'm Dave and the guys on the booking team called me Mother Teresa because I'm friends with everybody in the locker room. I don't have heat with anybody that I know of. But anyway, Terex, I love that guy.
It's because of this. That's why you guys are always friends.
Terex is a big gimmick, man. But he's also just a big man, and he can do like crazy athletic things for a man his size. And one of the things he can do is a moonsault. And when I saw him do the moonsault, I said to Schmo, I'm down to take that moonsault. And within like
and what number hit was that? As you guys were before the show,
I just
decided yeah, sure, that's a great idea.
I was down to do anything, Dave. I would have been choke slammed through a table. Whatever you want to do to me, I'm down. That's how much I loved it and how sick.
I just wanted you to leave.
Yeah,
you didn't do that.
I couldn't. You couldn't break me. And Terex, sure enough, the next taping I show up and on the booking sheet, Terex gives me the moonsault, and that was the scariest thing. That was really scary, but and I'm not going to say that it didn't hurt because it definitely hurt. He definitely landed on my face, but he definitely took care of me either way. And shout out to Terex. I don't know if he's still going, but boy, he was a lot of fun. And he definitely squashed me. I think it's on YouTube. No water in the pool. There was water in the pool that day. What can I say about Todd Keneley, Dave? Todd is one of my favorite people on earth. He's a great dad. He's a great broadcaster. He's a great friend. I love talking to him. He loves wrestling, and he's one of the best there. It's just he's so underappreciated, not by me, but Todd is the man. He really is. He can call a broadcast like no other. I know you hate when he speaks Clichenese, but I love it. And me and him pop each other all day long when we're calling matches together, and there's just an instant chemistry with Todd. So shout out to Todd. Fight on, USC Trojan. Wears a Trojan. He wears a Trojan Magnum, and TK Todd Keneley, the best there is.
So Nick,
Yeah.
you're around us a lot. I shouldn't say it's not even us anymore. It's me from the old group of guys. You don't really see all the staff that we used to have since we've been down. But you're here at the office, and you hear a lot of stuff, or me probably spouting something off that may have happened, or like, boy, this happened here. Call Shane's photos; he'll probably remember something like that. But
Shane's photos.
But
Not his real name, not Shane Kidder. It's always Shane's photos.
well, it's Shane's photos. He's been Shane's photos forever. But like, is there anything that you ever wanted to get verified? Or, I mean, I know the Schmo impression you had an issue with until you kind of heard him, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that's really Schmo. But like, is there anything that you would want to know that maybe Stu might have an answer to, or a different answer to maybe my political or kayfabe answer?
Oh man. Well, Stu, did you witness the fist fight between Schmo and David? Did you see that? Speaking of Schmo, the man who would give a chance to a plastic bag blown down the sidewalk, or so I hear. I can verify that.
First of all, which time are you talking about? Because Dave and Schmo, like, they were like the love hate. They were Felix and Oscar. They were always fighting. Every time they were always fighting. Like, the only time that they were getting along was like in between fights. It's like, I think that Dave is a very classic guy in every sense of the word. Just the way that he carries himself, and the way that he, the generation that he admires the most. I'm speaking out of turn maybe, but he's a guy that loves like the 50s. He loves, like, he likes he likes what he likes, and Schmo is like the opposite of Dave. So when Dave is trying to like run a company and run a TV show and not get kicked off the air, and Schmo is pitching him like angles to go with a boner pill commercial or something, like, that's like, I think that was a real thing.
Still is.
He oftentimes, that was that passion that Schmo had, that he would fight tooth and nail for like everything that Dave would let him get away with. And, they always like found common ground, but, they definitely, they've gotten fist fights like all the time. I think Schmo got in a fist fight with like 6 guys.
My favorite is Adam, and I had to pretend I didn't see it.
Adam hit Schmo. I don't know whether he punched him or whether he pushed him, but Schmo went like 10 feet, like, in the air, and like, it was like Debo hitting it was literally like Friday. It was Friday. Debo getting hit.
I just remember Percy saying, "You gonna go check on that boy?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I didn't see anything."
Those early days with Percy was the best. That was such a, like, what a legend, man. Like, that guy was just around. He was in it, man. He wasn't just one of these guys that shows up and sits in his own locker room and like doesn't want to talk to anybody. He was in it, man. He was in it. He was happy to talk to everybody and lent advice, made like really off-color jokes that I won't say on the air, and just cracked everybody up. And what a presence he was. And I know, like, there was guys that were like definitely in awe of him, and he was really cool. I got a chance to commentate with him. It was really, really awesome to have Percy around.
So to answer your question, Nick,
yeah,
Yes.
Schmo and Dave for sure had fist fights. I don't know that they ever hit each other, but like
we did.
Like,
it was October.
Like pull apart. Like Tony Gurria gets in the middle to like pull them apart.
It wasn't even that at all. I'm pretty proud of this. Do you remember So we did a tag team, that horrible tag team tournament that went nowhere for that entire
Yeah.
summer. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That was Angelo and
the tag
Schmo,
team,
and they had
the tag team classic.
that's right, classic. So there were
Yeah.
all these rules that didn't make sense, and nobody followed the rules, and there's like brackets that went nowhere. So I was already mad at that. And you probably remember, because I was probably in your ear, because I remember I was directing that. That was before Billy Trask came on as the director. And I remember these matches were going nowhere, and I was so upset. And Schmo was gone. He wasn't sitting next to me. He wasn't producing. He wasn't in the locker room. Nothing. So I sent someone to get him, and he comes in true Joe Schmo high fashion. It was like in the middle of the show, and he was so stoned, and I was so mad at that point. And I look at him. I say, "You're not even watching the shit you wrote." Like, what are we doing? None of this makes sense. Angelo's ring announcing, so I can't necessarily yell at him. And Schmo's just like, he's like, oh, well, just fuck it. Don't air it. And I was like, what? Don't air it. We just shot all this shit. What? So that was the beginning of it. And then there was, I'm trying to remember if it was that time I had to go out when the Vermin stuff started and I got involved in that. But I remember being at the curtain, and
Oh
Joe
yeah, you
had
didn't even want to do it. You didn't even want to do that, and it ended up
And
being
I
one of the
did-
best moments.
I
So
didn't
you were
wanna
wrong.
do
You
it.
were wrong. You were wrong about that one.
Well, I was wrong about it, but I didn't want to do it because that wasn't my role.
Yeah, but
you
it
know.
turned out to be such a good thing.
Yeah. But I remember Schmo was yelling at me to go through the curtain.
Yeah.
See, there's another verification, Nick.
I'm like, that's like tears now because that's legit what it sounded like.
So, and I wouldn't go, and I looked at him, and I said, "It's not time," because the people weren't there yet. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it. So
Right.
that was part of why it became a good moment, because I waited for the moment, and he was like going to push me, and he pushed me kind of hard, like go, and I turned around and I went no, and I pushed him back. It was right at the window. Everybody saw it. And then he pushed me, and then I socked him.
And then you came out all pissed off.
That's why I was mad, because I just hit Schmo.
Wow.
And so Schmo was on the ground. He's like, "You motherfucker!" And then it happened, and it was all cool. And it was like, "Hey, yeah, that was great." At the end of the show, and I was mad. And Schmo was gone, and I was his ride. And he was he was at the beach or something. He was so mad. And so I waited for him like 40 minutes where he comes back, "I can't believe you fucking hit me," and like all this shit. And then we had to drive home together. And I think he was like quizzing Mongoose through the whole ride home, like, "What would you do if your friend just smacked you at work?" Like, and I'm driving.
Mongoose. Shout out to Mongoose, by the way. Mike Mongoose. You can't. There's a guy whose name doesn't get said enough out loud. Mike Mongoose. He's the man too. He's a great guy. Obviously, Dave's longtime friend, and he's been in the business since he was a kid, working, you know, in the Massachusetts, New York, that whole area. And what a treasure he has been for this show. I think he's still working in the office in the back during tapings.
He's around.
And you know, he is a guy that has seen. He makes sure the show is like, you know, on time and like organized and happening. And you know, he's a guy that has been by Dave's side for a long time, and I recognize him to be a really loyal guy to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And you know, I consider him a good friend. And another guy, an unsung hero in the back that helped put together so many great shows. I mean, listen, before I went to go do direct movies or whatever, you know, we had done already 7 years in the can of, you know, of the show. That's like insane. And here we are a decade later, and it's still going, and it's still on KDOC. It never got off KDOC. It's been on 100, and even with, like, you know, KDOC not being our biggest fan for a second. You know, Happy New Year. But I would say that that now it's on, like, you know, 150 stations. It's all over the place. It's on Fight. It's here. It's on in Canada on TV, here in Canada on cable. So you know, it's still going, and it's still going strong. The set looks great. the show has gone through an evolution. I understand that when we come back from the pandemic, that we'll see, even more of an evolution, I'm sure. Creatively, I think from what I understand, things are going to be taking new paths, and we'll see some new stories and some new guys that are going to get a chance to step up. But even when I come to visit once a year, seeing the guys that come up, it's like Andy Brown is a great example of that. It's like I come back a year later and now he's like working the main event, and now I come back a year later and now he's in the championship match. And Watts is the champion. It's Russ Taylor is now the veteran in the locker room. He's going by Rust.
Apparently, he'd been going by Rust for much longer than we thought. But when instead of Rust, but if you say Russ Taylor and Russ Taylor, it sounds exactly the same.
I had no idea.
I had no idea. I thought he was Russ.
One of my favorite guys to work with was Russ on as far as the promos go, because he was a guy that really wanted to work at it, and Pete too. These guys really wanted to get it. They really worked hard at it, and obviously there's room to grow for everybody. I'm sure Russ, he can get better, obviously, but he's just to see him go from where he was like a babyface guy that came in and did like a cool flip move. Now he's evolved into all these characters, and it's really, really cool to see him turn into, a really awesome performer.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, I guess, about how you one of your favorite things of everything that you did backstage was helping produce the pre-tapes and the promos. You mentioned Rust, you mentioned Peter Avalon, but was there anyone, I guess, that really stuck out to you as like a project that a person you attached to that you saw throughout?
I mean, there were guys that could come in and barely needed me at all. I don't need to tell Adam Pearce how to do a promo, not to say that he wasn't taking suggestions, but he and Sean Ricker, Eli Drake, he didn't need much. He was already Austin Aries in the early days. He was good promo in there, but the guys that I think I've worked with a lot I spent a lot of time working with Willie Mack, and I'm such a fan of Willie Mack, and it's so cliche, like everybody puts over Willie, but it's because he's so awesome. It's like he just has this star quality about him in the ring, and his facials in the ring are incredible. And his matches with Scorpio Sky, who's one of the all-time, Scorpio Sky is probably the best wrestler that ever was on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I'll say that. But in Sky, by the way, he went from, his promos are through the roof now. But Willie, it was really fun working with Willie on his promos, because he has this sort of natural conversational just swag about him. You know what I'm talking about?
Definitely.
And, it's just like when he's cutting a promo, it just feels like it's a real guy just saying real stuff. So I had a lot of fun with him. Obviously, my favorite person to work with on promos by far is Grant. Grant Pacachoto. Grant is the superstar of all superstars when it comes to the promos. He is the stick man of all stick men. I have such a great chemistry with him on camera and such a great chemistry with him off camera. He knew how to lead. He's the man. So Dave has all this talent, all these hidden gem talents that are, diamonds in the rough guys, and he just knows how to plug him in. And, if somehow, some way, this thing is just this is the little engine it's not that it could, it's just never going to stop. Dave's probably tried to quit wrestling 100 times since I met him. It's not going to happen. It's like he's in here for life. And, Grant was my favorite to work with by far. He was my favorite to work with. And if I can think of some others, there was, if you name some guys.
And directing me?
Yeah, well, you were easy too, but but the thing about Dave is that me and Dave, obviously on camera, we would argue on camera, off camera. It was like, you know what I mean? It wasn't so much of a work. But we had a lot of fun, obviously, and Dave obviously put that trust in me, knowing which was really, really cool. He sort of just let me just have at it. And they would hand me the promo list, and I would just go with Cable Guy Jeff. Shout out to Cable Guy Jeff, another unsung hero of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Camera cameraman extraordinaire, depending on who you ask.
Was he also involved in the Cabana stuff early on?
Yes, yeah, he was the original producer of Colt's podcast. But he was definitely a camera operator and shot all the promos that I worked on back in the day. And you know, he's awesome too. I love Cable, and I had to drive. Cable and I drove. We made towns. Cable guy Jeff. But yeah, if you name some guys, I'm happy to like kind of tell you, you know, any kind of thoughts if you want. If you know, the Hobo is probably an underrated promo. I wish he was still the Hobo, but that's a guy that like I think got put over because he could cut a promo. Like when he first came into Championship Wrestling World Hollywood, he was like the Hobo, and it was like, oh, that's a good shtick. But like once he started doing promos, you sort of saw like there was something more to this guy because he really could talk his ass off, and he ended up becoming the champion. And one of them, that was such a fun feud. Him and Ricky Mandel had a dumpster match. I got to call the match, and getting to call like Hobo winning the belt. It was so fun.
So
Hobo worked his ass off. Hobo worked his ass off.
I got a comment on the screen here. Did you at one point say the Hobo is a cardboard house on fire? Or does that sound like something you would say?
It sounds like something that I would say or Todd would say, but it was for sure said. But yeah,
Did you enjoy producing Sasha Derevko?
Sometimes, you know, Sasha could be a difficult guy sometimes to work with, but you know, he was a veteran in the scene before I got there, so you know, it took some time for him to sort of warm up. Eventually, you know, I would say that we were comrades to some extent, and but you know, it wasn't easy with him sometimes. You know, he was in a tag team with Fidel. And between the two of them,
and then I gave him a bodyguard.
Oh yeah, well, Marcus.
Marcus was good as looking as a bodyguard.
He by the way, he looked like $1 million. You know, between Marcus and Sasha, they had a hot thing going there. I think that
he was just simply comrade.
Yeah. I think that Sasha maybe, you know, was a little outspoken maybe in the back about some of his feelings maybe and ruffled some feathers with some of the guys in the office or something. I don't know specifically, but something must have happened. But, you know, he had a big run. Sasha came, you know, he was working championship program at one point.
He was the Heritage champion.
Yeah. So, you know, good for him. Is he still?
I was just asking.
No. Is he? I saw him. He wrestled him in the last whenever it was, but I saw him. He was on SmackDown.
I'm not sure.
No clue. I've been blocked for years, so I don't know any of that.
Yeah. No, I think, you know. Listen, a lot of the guys were pretty outspoken, and like Dave does things a certain way, and you know, you're not going to be friends with everybody. I guess you know it's the wrestling business, I guess, and Dave's running a business. He's running a show. He can't be friends with everybody. And that's something that you have to sort of figure out. And I also don't think like Dave doesn't necessarily book people that he doesn't like, because I've seen him have people that he thinks are pieces of shit on the show all the time. So it's not really like you have to be Dave's buddy to get on the show. So it's not. I want to make that clear. But you know, it's more than just Dave. There's a whole committee of guys that run the show under you know that actually run the show. There's you know when some of the areas, you know, Angelo and you know, Yuma, these guys were booking the show so if you don't want to do what they want you to do, and you don't have a suggestion that they like, what are you going to do? I wasn't always happy with shit that they wanted me to do, but I went on and did it.
That's TV though. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's what it is. That's what we signed up for. And, you know, Dave provides a platform. You know, listen, people make jokes about exposure bucks, but like exposure bucks are obviously, you know, we can roll our eyes like exposure bucks. It's 2020 exposure bucks, but really exposure bucks. I'm in the real entertainment industry. I'd like to think I've had a long career, and I'm still getting exposure bucks gigs in anywhere I can. You know, the fact that an independent wrestler in Southern California or on the West Coast, or someone that has air miles and is willing to fucking fly themselves to LA. Sometimes I you know, in recent years, I think Dave does fly some people out. I know Drew Gulak was a fly-in. You know, he's obviously credit to Dave, because Dave definitely, that was like a Dave guy. And I love Drew, obviously. But if you're willing to get there and you have a good attitude and you're down to do business, you're going to have a platform. You're going to have not only a television show that's seen all over the place, but you're going to have like footage that isn't in like a high school gym. That's like, you're going to have TV footage. You're going to get to work a show where you actually have to like find the hard cam and facials mean stuff. And you learn so much being on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood that it's like, not only is it a perfect feeder system to other companies to exploit down the line, but it's a good feeder system for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood to create stars of their own. And there's guys that have come in that I thought like there's no way that this guy's gonna do shit, and then they turn out to be great. Then there's guys that
Peter Avalon.
Then there's guys that look like $1 million and like they suck. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has given every single one of those people a shot at some point. I mean, there can't you name a person that wrestled in LA in the last 15 years that like wasn't on this show. It's not a long list. Everybody's gotten a shot. Am I wrong?
Damn it. No,
Yeah.
you're right. But I mean, every time I say that, people just look at me
Well,
like I'm
true.
a bigger
I mean,
asshole
they
than
have.
I already am.
Listen, I probably commentated over like 1,500 matches for your show, and that's a lot of wrestlers. And it wasn't just Scorpio Sky, Willie Mack every match. I saw all sorts of guys that came in, and there's some cool schools. I know you guys had a school going for a while, and I think you're still doing it. And obviously the pandemic maybe not really, but I know David Arquette was training there last I checked. But in Santino's, we're turning out a lot of guys, and all those guys got a shot. Especially the Santino guys. There isn't a Santino guy that wasn't on our show at one point or another, getting promo time, TV time to work a match, 7 minutes, TV, go for it.
Well, that was part of the negatives, is that it was 7 minutes and they weren't able to do everything they felt they should do and didn't understand the pacing and the stories.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's just education. I think now, years later, people who left the show, there weren't many people we fired. People left.
Yeah.
On their own accord. And I think now that they're older, they probably see the opportunity and what the program was all about.
This is TV wrestling.
You
know what I mean? This is TV wrestling, okay? This is a TV show. This is TV wrestling. It's about entertaining the people there that are watching it on the cameras. It's not about it, even though we want the 200 people behind us to have a good time. It's really about that. If the 200 people behind,
go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? If the 200 people behind us are having a good time, that means that everything's clicking. That means that the wrestling is clicking, the storytelling's working, the characters, something's clicking when that's going off in the back with those people. But the matches have to be a TV segment. This is not go out and have 20-minute independent, throw fucking everything at each other wrestling. It's not that. You have time to get 3 things in, and this guy can get 2 things in, and you have 5 minutes plus your entrances, plus a promo after that. Grant's going to interview you after the match, so it's a TV show. Am I wrong?
But
TV,
no, for sure. No, you're not going to get arguments out of us. It's interesting to say that because, and again, this is why I don't like doing these shows with me being here. It's because it all kind of comes back to me, and it feels kind of stupid being here, hearing that, and interacting. But so like when NWA Power started, and we started doing those shows in Atlanta, the people who reached out to me trying to get on that show, who quit the Hollywood show, and when I tell them it's the same show, and they're like, "No, it's not." Like, no, it's definitely the same show. The format is the same. The production is the same. It's just in a different place. There's less than 200 people in that facility. We have 200 plus in our facility, and it's just the perception of what it is. I'm producing on that show. I'm hosting on that show. I'm producing on our show. I'm directing.
By the way, you are really funny. You are really funny in that Soli role. You are like excelling in that role. I love watching you on camera on the NWA show. It's just I just like it's like so whoever's idea that was, Like I know
It's
whether
the
maybe
same
you.
thing.
I know, but
the
it's just
same
like
thing. I did
I
it
know,
on
but
our show too.
I know,
See
but
what I
it's like
mean?
now.
But hang
Now
on a
it
second.
just
That's
I know
exactly what I'm talking
it's
about.
weird, but it's just weird because it just seems different.
It's not. It's me with a microphone and a thing in my ear and being upset that I have to stand for an hour to
It's pretty.
to
It's
talk
I
to
guess
somebody.
I guess it's just like it just feels different because it's like it's like a new show. But you're 100% right. It is the same thing. NWA has maybe got a little bit more guys that have been around the block a few more times that are in the ring, and you guys have more a younger core, so to speak. But the production is the same. I mean, listen, the production is legit. The Ocean View Pavilion has transformed from what was just like a theater that they had like Neil
Church.
Simon plays at or whatever to like the Sportatorium in there. There's like a ramp, there's TV, it's fully modernized. The back has a really beautiful production setup that like any tech nerd would like lose their shit over. David's been playing with switchers long before people were playing with switchers. And Billy was doing the music up in the back of the theater, and now he's directing the show. Shout out to Billy
And NWA Power.
and NWA Power. And Billy's a great guy. And he literally, there's an example of a guy that literally started just hitting. He was in charge of playing the theme music, and worked his way to becoming the director of the show.
Yeah,
and good for him.
Yeah, for sure. What else, Nick?
I was going to say, so Stu, you mentioned a lot of the different things that you've been able to do throughout your career, both in wrestling and outside of wrestling. You and I have worked on a couple projects, whether just live stage shows, or you and I actually worked on an AVN award. Was it nominated short as well? So I'd say of all the things that you've done, what's it called? What?
Of all the things I've done, that's one of them.
That is one of them, yes.
Wait a minute, an AVN short. How long are porn? How long is porn? Aren't they all short subjects?
It wasn't a porn. It was a comedy sketch that ended up getting nominated because it was really funny.
And it was nominated for best marketing, I think.
Yeah, we had Virgil. Yeah. We had Virgil.
With the president.
And Coolio, and there's just like this out of control.
I remember.
And Nick is really. Listen, I'm pretty sure Nick gets put over every time, but Nick is a great fucking guy too. Let's not leave out the fact that this guy's not just a referee, even though he's a great referee. He is a great referee. Much better than the other schmucks they got on there. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm looking for some new schmucks. I got to keep them going.
Look on the beach. You can find one like sleeping on the beach. I think Dave found one. They were desperate for a rough one. But Nick is a very talented guy behind the scenes. He's an art director. Don't let him pretend like he's not. But I know you wear a million hats behind the scenes on Championship Wrestling. But also, he constructs and is a fabricator and can build sets and can create atmospheres and scenes. We did DJ Quick, David, one of Dave's favorite artists, DJ Quick.
He's in the motherfucking house.
DJ
right.
Quick had a show at I think it was at the LA Forum.
Bone Thugs was at the Forum. The DJ Quick was at Observatory.
Anyway,
That's
Nick
cool.
Nick built the whole stage and like the whole set and ran the whole show there. So don't let Nick fool you, man. This guy's dialed in.
So he was going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, of all the things that you have done, is there anything else that you haven't done that you still would like to, that you haven't gotten your opportunity for yet?
In wrestling?
Anything.
I mean, come on. That's like such a...
All right, so in wrestling, to narrow it down.
Yeah. Like,
you had a match, you've been on the stick, you've been on the headset, you've done backstage. Do you want to sit down and direct the show? There's so many things you've already done. Like what is left?
He wants to be on the list. All the lists.
Yeah, right. What I want to do is, what I really would love to do. That was a great tag team, by the way. The list.
We were geniuses.
Who was?
It was
was it Ethan HD
and Robert De Niro. I feel so. Eric. I can't remember his last name, but Eric. Eric Cross.
Oh, Eric Cross. Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
okay.
He was actually pretty good. He actually worked on it, and he sort of I saw a big improvement with him. But and I don't know if he's still wrestling, but there was a minute
He's
where
not.
I
He's
did see
married, and
some.
he's married, and I think he just sold his boots online.
Okay, well then shame. But would
He is
say
off
that,
the
like,
list.
when he first came in, he was sort of help putting guys over, and then he ended up actually getting a character and doing a pretty good job with it. So I had a good time with that. But anyway, what I would like to do is I really wish that there was an opportunity to be in wrestling as like a full-time sort of gig. If that was a way that I could, live comfortably, within the lifestyle that I'm accustomed to, then
On Little Dickens.
yeah, if I was able to, provide and have an opportunity to do something like that with any company, I would strongly consider that, because I truly was at my happiest when I was doing wrestling, and I miss it so much, Nick. You have no idea. James Morgan and I had such a good time together. Just so fun, like so fun. The Family Stone stuff was like I was having the best time, and that's why it worked, because we were having a good time.
I was looking through the archives recently as we're now getting to kind of best of editions of Championship Wrestling. And we're upcoming soon. We're doing best of the TV title. And one of the first matches that came to mind was Bateman versus James Morgan in his what would be his retirement match. Do you have any memories of doing that match? Or?
I do. I wasn't. For some reason, the booking the bookers at the time didn't want me to be out at ringside with him for the match. But I watched the match, and I know James. Boy, he just looked great. He was in shape. He had a great match. Tyler Bateman, I always had. Now, there's a guy that had such respect. Hello, sir. Hey, am I right, Dave? He's a guy that was very much, had so much respect for wrestling and so much respect for his character and his work. And I think that, when he wrestled with James, and it was James's last match, I got to come out afterwards and sort of make a little speech that I don't know if I think you did end up airing it. Maybe, I don't remember. But it was a really tearful moment to know that James, I know how much he loved wrestling, but he's a doctor too. In real life, James is a doctor and had an opportunity to open up his own practice and be a doctor. So the days of
He's my doctor.
Yeah. So the days of him putting himself at risk when he has, a family and a wife and a career as a doctor, he had to weigh his options. But I guarantee you this: if there was some sort of anniversary thing coming up or whatever, something special, I guarantee you he would come back for a match. He for sure would. He would do 1 million push-ups a day to get into good shape, if you know what I'm saying. And he would be ready to go. I know he would do it. So just keep that in the back of your mind, Nick, in the future. If there's ever an opportunity for some sort of a Family Stone something, we can come in, me and James, and James can have some one-off, give a rub to one of the young guys.
Well, since we didn't get to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the program this past year because we got shut down, so we have an entirely new year to celebrate. 10
That's
years
true.
On the air.
Yeah, so you never know what can happen. Fans should tune in. You never know. Obviously, the border's closed at the moment. Thank God, so D-Man can't come. But
you're a dual citizen. But you're a dual citizen.
Yeah, but I've got family here, and they need me at the moment. And I'm a family man, Dave, and I'm gonna be here until it's safe to resume travel, and then I'll be happy to get on a plane and come visit you guys and come play at Hollywood. And I will. You can't get rid of me. I keep showing up. I've been a part of all the milestone events since the beginning. And that's a tradition that I'd like to continue, at least.
Well, it's coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go in a minute here, but before we get going, what projects are you working on right now, Stu? You making a movie? You doing anything like that?
I am actually. I'm putting the finishing touches on a new film, which is going to be hopefully coming out in October. If all goes as planned. But I'll be happy to share information with you guys soon. It's been sort of a rough summer for me so far, to be honest with you guys. Not just with obviously with the COVID stuff, and the world is generally society is a mess right now for a multitude of reasons. But my father passed away, and he was the subject of the documentary Jack of All Trades, which had a nice little run on Netflix for the last year, and it's sort of been a really kind of interesting time for me of what I want to do next, and I don't know what that's going to be, but I do know that I have a new movie that I'm very excited about, and hopefully that's going to help sort of raise my spirits again and get me back sort of in the driver's seat, ready to be excited about stuff again. So I am excited about this movie, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I can't tell you too much I can't tell you too much. You're going to have to call the hotline, 1-900-909-9900. Get your parents' permission, please. One time I used to call the WWF hotline back in the day, 1-976-2929. Did you have that in the States?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like Macho Man and Elizabeth would be like cutting a promo and they call the hotline. Oh yeah. And so I would call, and it was like a pre-recorded, like long-winded message from like Ivan Putski. It's like $30 phone bill at like my grandmother's house. But I would call all the time. It was always the same thing. It was just like some long, like Corporal Kirshner, like 20-minute, like recorded message that like cost you $40 to listen to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Yes. Before we go, I kid Stu.
I don't know what your hurry is. Me and Dave got nowhere to be.
And well, he's a government man.
I have a TV show to cut. No.
That's right. He has a show to get out. By the way, I have some new commercials to give you.
Okay.
That just came today. Stu, this is some stuff about Stu like I didn't realize when I first met him. He is a voice actor, but he was on some very popular programs and coming up. And the one that I think that got me the best was, if you remember the Green Giant commercials. Stu was Little Sprout. I know you do.
Sprout. Yeah.
Little Sprout was Stu.
Yeah. And Johnny Yuma always popped for that. The little green sprout in the Ho 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 Green Giant commercials in the 80s. There's a little green sprout, and I'm the sprout. I got packed in here by accident. I got to get back to the valley really quickly. And I had like Green Giant niblets corn. I actually was just looking through some old stuff, and I found a bunch of old tapes from those Green Giant commercials. So
that's awesome.
Maybe I'll figure out a way to get them.
But My Pet Monster and the Magic School Bus, and there's he is. He's up there.
Oh my!
And it's Stu was a big star before he thanks to Fievel Mouskowitz. He
was on Goosebumps
big star
once.
Goosebumps. And I one of the rare guys that has been on Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Really?
And yes.
And Boston Public.
Yes. Mike Mongoose' favorite show. Mike Mongoose' favorite show.
But speaking of Mongoose, I don't think many people know this now. He's an actual, by title, he's a producer at Walt Disney Television Animation. So
yeah.
I think you may have to. He's not an associate producer anymore. He's a producer.
Ooh.
So I don't think you need to go through that audition process.
Mm-hmm.
So all those years of blowing him are going to pay off?
Nope. Not at all. But anyway, thanks for always being there. Thanks for being a good sport. And I've given you a lot of shit over the years, of course.
No, but we have a mutual respect for each other. No matter what you say to me, I don't give a shit. I know you love me. And
as my Bell's palsy sets in,
blame it on the Bell's palsy, Dave.
That's right. Stu will be the first person to call me and say, "Hey, you look great." It's like, I look like fucking Frankenstein. What are you talking about?
You're so vain, Dave. You're so vain.
Of course. Look at all that white hair now. Hasn't it been fun to watch that grow in?
Hey, look at you.
Look at that.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's white.
You've been dreaming about this since you were 14.
I know. Look at that. I didn't change my glasses. I tried getting cooler glasses, but
Are you
it
a fan
shows
of?
off.
Are you a fan of Chris Wallace? Not the
No.
Notorious B.I.G. I'm talking about like
No.
Chris Wallace.
He's dead. No. I mean, he's a decent journalist, but he's not his dad.
But you didn't
These
see
are
that
kind of
interview. Look at you, man. You got new goggles and everything.
See, I just said I was trying to get a new look.
That's so
You
funny.
can see.
I actually just got glasses that are kind of like that. They're like aviators with regular lenses, right?
I don't know if they're aviators, but
They're pretty cool.
they sure are Prada.
Are you gonna? Ooh, look at you! Hey, Dave. You looking for? You throwing the bait out there?
But that's
Prada. What am I wearing?
Walmart.
No.
No,
Shout out
but
to
anyway.
Johnny LaCoste. Shout out to. Can I get some shout outs?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Shout out to Johnny
Midnight
LaCoste.
dedications.
Shout out to Todd Kenley, Christian Cole, Scorpio Sky, the Vermin guys, Kevin Martinson, underrated, one of the best. Loved Kevin, Yuma, DOA baby, bad dude Tito, Othello, the monster Othello. This is so fun. Shout out to Shelly and Danielle, the Martinez sisters. Shout out to Willie Mack, Schmo, rest in peace. I feel like the Hobo needs lots of love.
John Ian,
rest in peace. Great times with John Ian. Adam Pierce, Colt Boom Boom Cabana. Of course, James Morgan and all the Family Stone guys. Eric Watts, he's the champ. Real proud of him. And
you've not said Ray Rosas once.
Oh, I do like Ray Rosas. One time I suggested that Ray Rosas go out to the ring and have a lady that's trying to sell roses to the audience, and he didn't like it.
I remember that.
But he's great. You know, Ray's a guy that really, him and Peter together really found their stride. I think when they got together, I think that's when Ray and Peter both started really sort of taking the next step in their evolution. Ray could always wrestle. And I think that he found like a lot of confidence when him and Peter were paired up as PP Ray. And now Ray is a main event guy in SoCal and should be, because he's put in the work. I'm definitely a fan of Ray's. I don't know if I'm a fan of his football taste, but that's a whole other conversation. Should I have not said that? Is there somebody I left out, Dave? Come on, man. I don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, you've left out like hundreds of people, but it's okay.
Like Mikey O'Shea? Am I supposed to shout him out?
Rick Knox.
Rick Knox is the man. Listen, Knoxy. I love Rick Knox. I actually saw he was posting pictures of old, shows that he went to at the Forum. Mm-hmm. And I found these pictures that, I wish I could had them. I was going to ask Dave maybe, because I remember Dave used to work.
It was the Olympic.
Yeah.
At the Forum.
Oh, that's what it was? You used to work. I remember you telling me you did some TVs for WWE when they were doing loops on the West Coast. Did you ever do Phoenix, Arizona, house shows or anything like that?
Yeah.
I swear, I think I have a picture that it looks like it's you at Ronnie Garvin. Is there a chance
that could be true? I mean, that's early on, but that can be true. That would have been 88.
88, 89, 90?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Whenever Ronnie Garvin was there. 91, maybe it was?
Oh, maybe it was in the 90s. Yeah. Because he was NWA World Champion in 80.
Yeah, I think it was 91, but I swear, I have a picture and it's Ronnie Garvin walking in the ring, and I swear it's like young Dave Marquez.
Am I wearing a tie?
I think you're wearing you're in the full getup.
WWF with the patch and everything?
I don't know about the patch, but it's because it looks like young you.
I did wear that. Yeah,
and he had a big kind of poofy 80s Jew fro.
It probably was me.
All right, I'm gonna look for that picture. But you look taller than Ronnie Garvin. Is that possible?
Yes, I was almost 6'1" at one point.
How tall is Ronnie Garvin?
Not 6'1".
He's not 6'1".
He's like Greg Valentine height.
That was interesting. Those two feuded.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our cue. Once you start talking about Valentine and Ronnie Garvin feuds, it's time to call it a day. Anybody that I didn't shout out, I love you. Kathy Kelly, There you go. Oh, Jervis. Jervis is a hell of a talent. He's a really talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm missing people, but what can you do?
Lots
I wish.
and lots and lots.
Yeah, but I love all of you guys, and I'm happy to do this again sometime. So let me know when you need a guest. I'm around.
It only took
And
5 months, but thanks for
yeah,
coming.
well, listen, it was tough, but I'm around. And now that I swam in the pool with you monsters, I see it's safe to swim in these waters, and I'm happy to do it again if you ever need me. But anybody that I didn't mention knows that I love them.
For sure. Stu, for anyone who is maybe new to you or wants to continue following what your projects are, where can they find you online? No? Okay. All right. Don't
No.
leave Stu alone, everyone.
At Stu Stone. Worth the
Awesome.
follow. If you really want to follow somebody that's worth the follow, follow at CWFH Marquez on Facebook. Dave Marquez's Facebook page is it's like you never know
Town
what
hall.
you're gonna get. You never know what you're gonna get. The comment section, you come for Dave, you stay for the comment section. Make your popcorn, and you never know what crazy shit Dave's gonna say, and you never know what's gonna happen in the comment section. So follow Dave on Facebook. That's my recommendation. And shout out to my mother Trudy, who's watching from her bed. She's more than welcome to come in here and say hello. But I know she's a huge Dave Marquez fan, and
Still have
she
not had the brisket.
no, but she does love you, Dave.
I love her too.
Oh, someone in the chat earlier asked about. Did you once
Offer
basically
my
like
mom up in an angle? Yes.
Yes. What can you
Yes.
tell us
So,
that story quickly?
yes, sure. So this was at the Glendale Pavilion, and the Glendale Studio, which is
Remember how drunk that guy used to be, the owner of that place?
Yeah.
He was.
That, by the way,
gross.
as much as I love George and the Ocean View, and the Ocean View is amazing. Listen, hands down, what George has put 1,000,000% into the Hollywood show. Shout out to George and his whole team over there. But the tapes at Glendale have a special place in my heart, obviously, because I felt like we really started to catch our stride in Glendale. We had bounced around like a bunch of vagrants from, venue to venue. And Dave, we were at one point right across from Pink's Hot Dogs, and you'd have to go in at 6 in the morning and remove the seats of like
in
the
a movie
oldest theater in town.
movie
Theater.
And we were in a barn.
Yeah, everywhere you can think of. But the Glendale Studios, I think it really started clicking and gelling as a TV show. People sort of started taking it a little more seriously. On the wrestling scene, let's just say, we started getting a lot more notice, and
You muted yourself, Big Mouth. You have to unmute it.
Oh yeah, he did.
The internet finally shut Stu up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
No,
you're talking.
on.
Yeah, you were talking. We can hear you.
Can you not hear us now?
Why are you squinting?
now I can hear. I was looking at the thing. No,
you were saying great
I said
things
it at
about
the Glendale-
Jeremy Schott.
No, I wasn't. But I should say good things about Jeremy Schott. He's got his Emporium.
Pizza.
And, he's a great guy, and he's a hell of a shooter too. We shot a lot of great stuff with him. I wish he was still around. I know Cable Guy really liked him too.
He's alive, Jeremy. Don't that.
But
he's
just
alive.
not around.
Yeah.
No, he's just rich in Long Beach.
He's not
It's
around.
good pizza. Yeah. It just kind of sounded like he was dead from the way you phrased that. I'm like, I think that's true.
I was gonna say the Glendale Theater that we were there at. We really were. It
was
really
a
felt
TV. It was a movie studio.
Everybody had like dressing rooms. There's like legendary like fights with Dave in the back with like wrestlers. The roster is like at that point, all of those guys are on TV, either on our show or all over the world now. Brian Cage, Eli Drake, Adam Pearce, Cole Cabana, Aries, Claudio Castagnoli, Willie Mack, Scorpio Sky. That was the card, top to bottom. So that's why it was so exciting, and it really started taking off. So kudos to you guys. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna stop gushing. Dave's an asshole in real life, but we love him, and we put up with him. And it is Dave is the king of the castle, and we are all lucky to be his dirty rascals.
I love it. Well, Stu, we love you too. And for everyone watching or listening here, I'm at Nicholas Bonanno. Follow United Wrestling on Twitter, at United Wrestling Network on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And since we've been shouting out a whole bunch of people, I want to make sure to shout out everybody out there who networks with United. Have a good night, everyone.